first of all, the BBB, the Big Beautiful Bill, is a must-pass legislation. We could go into a severe recession with tax increases across the board if we don't get this done very soon, and hopefully it'll be completed no later than July. But yeah, Senator Cassidy wants to cut Medicare. Well, that's just absurd. That's a third rail of politics. And what he's doing, he was looking at the so-called upcoding that occurs when physicians or other providers are maybe trying to charge more than what's reasonable. But that's just not going to work. All it's going to do is cut provider salaries, and that's going to cut access to care. And so he needs to leave Medicare and Medicare Advantage alone.
All right, let me play a soundbite from Dr. Oz talking about the Big Beautiful Bill and specifically Medicaid. For the guys behind the glass, number 2, please.
It builds a strong framework to allow us to do the right thing for the American people by allowing these systems to align the needs of the federal government and the president with those of governors and states. By aligning the needs of the federal government and the states, we can serve the American people most effectively. The current system doesn't do that. Between state directed payments, provider taxes, and other types of legalized money laundering, we're hurting the ability of the federal government to work with states to improve the system. And we know from having spoken to many of these states, these are the kinds of changes that could be beneficial.
All right. So what do you make of his comments? And then there is a push to cut Medicaid. Now, I'm okay with some work requirements for things. I'm not okay with really cutting benefits right now because President Trump promised he wouldn't do that. Josh Hawley sounded the alarm saying that there could be cuts in some rural areas for Medicaid with what establishment senators are pushing right now.
Yes, there's a lot of room for work with Medicaid. Medicaid was originally created in the 60s to help out young mothers with children. And today we have many able-bodied men who are receiving Medicaid, and therefore they're not in the workforce where they're needed. So I believe that we should have work requirements for those who are able to work, who are not disabled and not taking care of small children, because really, once they get a job within a business or an industry, they will have even better insurance, the private insurance sector. And so, but what the good doctor's referring to there is we have a very complicated and overlapping system in healthcare. Everything from public healthcare to private healthcare to self-pay healthcare. And then we've got middlemen, the PBMs and all of that. It all needs to be wedged together and streamlined to save cost. It's just the consumers are just drowned in billing and costs, whether it's premiums or direct cost for their care.
All right, let me ask you on a broad-based question here. So, John Fleming, you're running for United States Senate. You're running in a primary. You're up against Bill Cassidy. This guy has been a real disappointment when it comes to MAGA Republicans, when it comes to America First policies. He's really been a thorn in President Trump's side at times, including voting to impeach the guy. So what do you bring here? Will President Trump endorse you? How important is that through all of this as you move into this campaign and try to get some reinforcements from the MAGA side of things back into the United States Senate?
Well, first of all, I served 8 years in the House of Representatives. I was one of the founders of the House Freedom Caucus, along with Jim Jordan and others. And then I went into the Trump administration, served in 3 different positions, culminating in being a special advisor to the president in the last year of his stay there in the first administration. And then he endorsed me for my current position, which is state treasurer. So he knows I was there at the beginnings. I was part of the origins of MAGA, and I'm very proud of that. And I do want to continue that. So I look forward to working alongside President Trump. As you know, you mentioned it, Bill Cassidy voted to convict President Trump as he was leaving office, meaning that for some reason he couldn't run for re-election. But thank goodness he failed in doing that. And he has held up a lot of things that Trump has tried to do. And certainly he was a holdout vote for Robert Kennedy's nomination and ultimate, being transported through the Senate and confirmed. So he's just not in touch with Louisiana. He's in touch with Washington, the swamp. And Louisiana, he's upside down in the polls. They want a replacement for him, and obviously I'm the obvious choice.